Okay, hi everyone. So I'm Akash from Oxford University, so I study maths in my second year. And so we're delighted to be in conversation with Jay Lakhani for our fourth event in our virtual speaker series. Mr. Jay Lakhani is a qualified theoretical physicist specialising in quantum physics. And for the last 30 years, he's been promoting the deeper philosophical vision of Hinduism in the education system in this country. So talking and teaching Hinduism to thousands of students up to postgraduate level, he's a robust defender of Hinduism in the media like the BBC and the first Hindu tutor appointed by Eton. So our interview is going to cover three main topics, which is his career as a scientist and a teacher of Hinduism, the link between science and spirituality, and the past, present and future of Hinduism. And then at the end, for the last 20 minutes, we'll have Q&A, so you'll have the chance to ask him any questions yourself. So I'll just get started with the first topic. So the first question is, what led or inspired you to study physics at Oxford Uni and at university and at postgraduate level? And what appealed to you in particular about quantum physics?
Yes. Hello. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yes, we can see and hear you clearly.
Okay. You see, my background is actually, my parents are business people. So my background is very much a commercial, in the commercial field. But when it came to studying, my father said, study economics and join the business. I said, no. I want to know what is the nitty-gritty of reality. How is this world made up? What is the, if you like, the building block of this creation? I wish to study that rather than how to make money. He was quite upset by that. He said, no, you are a businessman's son. You should focus on money and economy and all that. I said, no, physics. I want to know what is the nitty-gritty of this creation. So my journey started by trying to make sense of the world that we live in a very detailed manner. And the most pretentious of all the sciences is physics. In fact, if you want to study any other scientific field, you have to go to physics to sort yourself out. This is where we have the fabric of reality. So I say, I'm going to study physics because I was just attracted to that. So that is the journey that's got me started into physics. But when I was studying physics at Imperial College, I suddenly discovered there's a lot of things that I was discovering, saying at the cutting edge discoveries of modern physics, like quantum mechanics, etc., related very well with some of the deeper teachings of Hinduism. So I was strongly drawn. And the two areas that immediately caught my attention were the theory of relativity and the theory of quantum physics. And both of them appeared exotic, very tricky, and yet I was strongly drawn by them because I felt this is where, if you like, the kind of more deeper vision of physics become visible. That's why I started with physics.
Right. Thank you very much. So our second question. So there's often this perceived gap between science and religion, so like a kind of conflict between the two. So, for example, the theory of evolution versus like creationism in theology. So have there been any advancements in science that have started to lead you to challenge your own personal beliefs in the past?
You see, the challenges that the religions face from science are really the religions that come from the Abrahamic traditions. They struggle. The idea of man, created by God as a special case to come and rule over other animals is a purely an Abrahamic idea, not Indic idea. So the ideas about evolution, etc., offend the Abrahamic tradition. In a way, it is strongly challenging the Abrahamic tradition. But Hinduism has no problem with issues like that. So we never had issues with science. In fact, let me tell you, the way we define our tradition, which is called dharma, is simply saying, trying to make sense of the world that we live in. What is the nature of reality? What are the rules that operate in the world outside, as well as the rules that operate in the inner man? So our journey was never looking for a God, or never looking for a theistic approach. You simply say, what is the nature of reality? What is this all about? So our approach has always been trying to make sense of the world that we live in. And science does precisely that. So we have no difficulty. We never had any difficulty with science at all. In fact, we flow with science. The way science is defined, the way dharma is defined is exactly the same. So we have never had any conflict. The Abrahamic tradition is in serious trouble with the challenges from science and rationality. But the Indic tradition, the deeper kind of ideas of Indic traditions are not challenged at all. In fact, they flow with the findings of modern science.
Okay, thank you very much. Also, we found many young Hindus look up to you, particularly because your take on Hinduism aligns quite well with their own beliefs. In particular, I find that true about myself. So when you were younger, did you have a role model or someone who you looked up to who maybe inspired the values that you have now?
You see, since very early days, when I was a little boy, I was always drawn to the idea there's something deeper regarding us and the world that we live in. I always somehow knew intuitively there's something very special about all of us. Have I lost you, Nidin? Are you there? So I was always drawn to the idea there's something deeper regarding us and the world that we live in. So I was always kind of strongly attracted to this, but then I required some role models who can kind of lead me to this in this direction. So I was looking around, and I'm only interested in those people who are looking at the deeper vision of Hinduism rather than people who are kind of superficial, kind of focusing on the ritualistic aspect, the narrative aspect, the bhajan and the kathas. That wouldn't attract me at all. So I was looking for a vision that allows me to relate to reality in a more science-oriented, rational worldview. So I was looking around, and there are very few personalities that I could relate to. I was struggling with all these bhajans and kathas and the Puranis do not attract me. The priests, the Puranis, the pujaris, the pandits don't attract me. So I was looking for the right role model for me to latch on to make spiritual progress. And I was looking around, and a few personalities that immediately caught my attention, because these are people who don't set up sectarian movements and drum beating and big institutions. They are establishing spiritual experience, and those personalities attracted me right from the very young age, from the age of 11. And the personality that attracted me at the first age was Ramana Maharshi. No big sectarian movement, no drum beating, no big razmatas. Immediately I knew this guy was talking from first-hand experience. Then the other personality that drew my attention were, of course, the personalities of Swami Vivekananda and Sri Ramakrishna. They stole my heart. In fact, they were blown my fuses, if I can use the right word. So I've been strongly attracted to these ideals that have been promoted by Swami Vivekananda and Sri Ramakrishna.
Okay, thank you very much. So we're going to be moving on to the next topic, which is science and religion. So I'm going to introduce Janvi, who's a student at Cambridge, and she'll be asking the questions to Mr. Lakhani.
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Janvi. I study maths at Cambridge and I'm Vice President for Cambridge Hindu Soc. And thank you so much, Mr. Lakhani, for speaking to us about everything. So in your talks, you speak about how consciousness and existence, which I think you call like Bhati and Asti, kind of make up the spirit, and then the spiritual world underpins kind of the material world. So could you explain a bit more about that and how you think this realization can then help us like more personally, and maybe how that's actually affected your outlook on life?
Janvi, you sound like my daughter. I'm very pleased to have made contact with you. I studied physics and maths, and I loved maths. So when my daughter was growing up, I said, study physics and maths. She said, Dad, go away. I like art, music and stuff. So I had great problems. So nice to meet up with somebody like you. Say, yes, I like maths as well.
Yes, I love maths. That's good.
Let me touch on the ideas of the deeper. You see, the Hinduism comes in two flavors. Most Hindus don't know about this. 99% of Hindus are focused on personality-oriented Hinduism. Vishnu and Shiva and Mother Goddess and Ganesh and Hanuman, perfectly fine. But this is just one part of one flavor of Hinduism. That flavor cannot sit well with science, I'm telling you. The other flavor of Hinduism, which is kind of much more esoteric and much more philosophically oriented, is called the Shruti scriptures. And that doesn't have gods and goddesses. No interaction between gods and goddesses. It's talking about nature of reality. What is the nature of reality that we encounter? So it's immediately something that's close to my heart, physics. So what is the nature of reality? Now, our ancient seers, sages, they didn't have telescopes and Hubble telescope or microscopes. They were looking inward to find resolution to the human condition and the world that we lived in. And through tremendous introspection, we hit the jackpot. You see, people think knowledge comes from outside. It is already within. We just need to remove the clutter to make it visible. So our ancient sages were able to remove the clutter to see the nature of reality, because the knowledge is already within. It just becomes revealed. And they discovered some of the marvelous things that are now being rediscovered by modern physics. I'll give you an example. The ancient kind of sages said, the underpinning to this reality we define as Brahman, or Brahma is the right pronunciation. And when you say, please give us some handle, Brahma, what the heck is it? Some vegetable? They say, no. The nearest handle we have, look at the language, is very guarded. The nearest handle we have, linguistic ploys we can use to understand the idea of Brahma, is the idea of asti, bhati, priya. It's of the nature of existence, it's of the nature of bliss, it's of the nature of consciousness. You say, but they sound like almost human thing. What is this existence, bliss, and consciousness? They hit the jackpot. They recognize, they realize the underpinning to this reality is not matter, which is something dramatically different, which is highly abstract. Because when you say existence, how do you define existence? Or how do you define, consciousness? So they discovered that they found underpinning to this reality, which is best expressed as Satchitanand or Asti Bhati Priya. Now, this may have been okay for those esoteric Hindus who love Adi Shankara and Vedanta and all that. But you say, how does it relate to the world that we live in? Because people here making money, etc. What is this Asti Bhati Priya? What the heck is it? Now, through the integrity of science, this is why I love it. Through the integrity of science, we discovered major kind of black holes where issues are not being resolved. And these black holes are revealing the same thing that our ancient sages were talking about. When you ask a physicist, a quantum mechanist, how do you define the quantum phenomena? What's the nearest physical way to define it? They say very simply, this is called the psi function. I won't go into the detail, but the psi function tells you what is the probability of existence. See, the word existence appears like a thunderbolt in physics, quantum mechanics. It is of the nature of existence. So there is no reality, it's just nature of existence. So quantum is pointing the idea of existence underpinning this reality. It is a shudder, a variation existence that creates the universe. This is quantum physics. So wow, good stuff here. And then we go to a neuroscientist, Susan Greenfield, and say, oh, what is the nature of consciousness? She said, Mr. Lakhani, don't ask. We have no clue. We don't know where it springs from, which slice of the brain produces it, what is its nature, but we seem to have it. It gives us access to reality. We don't know what it is, where it comes from. It remains unknown. We say, we told you, consciousness is not a brain phenomena. It requires a brain to flow through, but what consciousness is far more than brain phenomena. Bhati, underpinning to reality. So straight away we find wonderful ideas at the heart of modern physics and modern neuroscience that relate very well with the esoteric. Look, not the personality-oriented Hinduism. They can't stand the challenges of modern physics. If they come in full flow with the integrity of science. So we are rediscovering what the ancient sages discovered as Asti Bhati, right at the heart of modern sciences.
Oh, that's so interesting. Thank you. So how do you think we can maybe declutter ourselves to actually discover, so do you think we actually have the knowledge within us what consciousness actually is? And do we even need to know, is that important to discover? And how can we go on the path of this to discover?
It is first thing to say, okay, first intellectually try and understand what we are talking about. Just get your mind around it. Have a kind of a cogent, a congruent system of thinking. It gives you a handle on this thing called spirituality or ideas, the deeper vision of Hinduism. I was just giving you 3 words, nothing more. You can't live on words. So the Hindu tradition is very dynamic. He says, no, these are just words. You can play with it, mumble on it or chew on it. It won't produce the result you require. You have to go in the same state as the ancient sages and the modern sages like Vivekananda, who actually experienced underpinning to reality as of the nature of existence, as of the nature of consciousness. So it's not one thing to believe in it. And the modern physicists say, yes, these are black holes in science. We don't know how to explain it, how to get a handle on it. We say we know only through experience, Janvi, experience. First an experience of this underpinning, can you really appreciate what it's all about? Otherwise, just nice, colorful kind of vocabulary, nice kind of floaty words that you can hang. It won't take you far. Our tradition, look at our powerful tradition. It says, belief is a starting point of your journey. Just like in science, we say hypothesis is the way you start your physical journey of physics. Hypothesis. Then it says, see if it is well joined up. Then it says, no, stop that. Experiment to see if it's for real. It works. So this is the way science progresses. This is the way Hinduism progresses. Okay, you heard about Asti Bhati. Oh, wonderful, colorful, and poetic, and so idealistic. No good. First, does it sound sensible? You say, yeah, both this existence and consciousness are central. But the next thing is, how can we verify it? The final thing, experiment. When it's experiment, not going in a laboratory and produce Asti Bhati, go within yourself. What is the nature of this thing that I call existence? What is the nature of this thing I call consciousness? Experience it for yourself. The only way you can validate it. So our beautiful tradition says, Shraddha, faith is a good starting point of your spiritual journey. But don't stop there. This is just the beginning, just a hypothesis you start with. It must end up with sakshatkar, first an encounter, not your prophet. So Vivekananda had this, it's not good to me. I have to experience it for myself to validate it. Otherwise I say, I don't understand. I've heard these lovely words. That's all I can say. Our first experience is a required, essential need, sakshatkar of in all the Indic tradition.
So it's all to do with like, sorry about that. So it's all to do with kind of introspection and like experiencing things within ourselves. So I guess if you've had this kind of experience, how has this kind of changed your outlook on life as in a more physical way? So like how is this like helped you kind of personally?
Help me? It has not helped me. It's destroyed all my hair. They've fallen out. The way you judge a personality, I'm not trying to promote myself. The way you judge a personality is whether the vibrancy with which that personality speaks about spiritual experience reveals whether it's for real or whether it's just making it up, it's just book learning. So only thing I can say is, look at me waving my arms, doing Bharatanatyam all the time on television. It cannot happen unless I've been kind of driven by this very dynamic experience that is in a way driving the work I do. So in a way, the way it reveals in me is the way I do the work, with tremendous love and tremendous excitement and tremendous, sense of humor. This is the sign of spirituality. So I'm not promoting myself. I'm simply saying these are the kind of litmus tests of when a person becomes enlightened.
Oh, okay. By the way, I do Bharatanatyam and you'd be great at it as well. So in one of your talks, you spoke about spiritual humanists versus like material humanists. Do you think they could ever work together at all? Or do you think it's better that everyone realizes spiritualism?
I'll give you my personal take. I've been a very personal friend of the chief executive of British Humanist Association, who promote the idea of materialistic humanism. And I think my own Professor Roger Penrose is the vice president, and I think Richard Dawkins is also vice president. So they're all kind of strongly linked up in British Humanist Association. Now, the chief executive has been a wonderful friend of mine for many, many years. And we have a tussle all the time. I tell him, look, humanism is perfect. Focus on humanity rather than God in heaven. I like you. I say, I like you, but add a word. Make it not materialistic humanism, make it spiritual humanism. And he said, Mr. Lakhani, go away. So we have this tussle all the time. And once on the internet, I said, materialist humanism is lifeless. He said, how dare you call us lifeless? We are full of life. I said, but you are saying you're a lump of carbon. That's lifeless. So we have this all the time tussle. I have a big debate with a chief philosopher called Peter Cave. And this debate was on the British Humanist website. But I think I was winning the debate. So I think they've taken it down. But I put it on my website, so you can still read the dialogue, because we are having a tussle. He's saying everything is nothing but extension of the material kingdom. You're nothing more than lumps of matter that got wound up through accidental evolution. This is the idea of evolutionary biology. We agree with Darwin that we are the extension of the animal kingdom. But then Dawkins said, no, you're extension of the material kingdom, Mr. Lakhani. You're nothing but lumps of carbon that got wound up through accidental evolution, this complex being. There's nothing more to you. Then that case, you destroy my dignity. You turn me into a lump of carbon, wound up lump of carbon. You can be, I can be flushed down the loo. It's terrible. I'm not happy with that. You must add the word spiritual, and there is a big fight going on, and they won't allow it. Even though in their heart of heart, they know there's something more missing in materialistic humanism, because in a way it reduces us to nothing but lump of matter. Now, you can't say this is dignifying humanity. So we love humanity, but in the same word, they say you are nothing but lump of matter. This destroys the whole idea of what we are all about. According to me, we are not material beings conjuring up ideas of spirituality so that we can live well with each other. That's what they are claiming. I am suggesting opposite. We are essentially spiritual beings on a fun material journey. So we kind of, yoo-hoo, but the underpinning to us is spirit. Janvi, let me tell you, when I do debates, discussion at many schools, sixth forms, universities, I steal the hearts and minds of the thinking youngsters. They all know intuitively there's more to them than just matter, because it can't be just matter. That's why the British Humanist Association struggles with kind of youngsters participating, because it appears stodgy. It appears very rational and good to focus on humanity and be good human beings, wonderful, but still something is missing. And what is missing is word spiritual. Now, you know what will happen? It is in this particular decade, not century, this decade, this idea that I'm promoting or suggesting that comes at the heart of Hinduism, spiritual humanism, is going to become mainstream. I just want to make sure I live long enough to see it happen. Now, really, I'm not joking. Janvi, you can smile and please pray for that I live a long life. But this is going to become mainstream. It cannot be avoided. They're holding the floodgates back. just hanging on to materialism. They can't think outside the material box. All the scientists like Richard Dawkins or my own Professor Roger Penrose, he can't think outside the material box. I'm saying, no, you have to get out of materialism. This is in fact restricting you, taking away your dignity. So this is an ongoing struggle.
Oh, so do you think like in some way we're kind of scared of looking introspectively and actually like considering that we're more spiritual than material? Or is it just, we just can't think that that could be possible?
Janvi, it is inevitable. All of us, somehow the inner compass that we possess tells us that we are more than material beings. Even though we cannot look at ourselves in the mirror, so, oh, I'm so clever, I'm looking, so look above my arms. We know there's something deeper within us, which is not the material frame. And that thing is intuitive. Look, this is how the story of evolution. At the animal level, we operate at the level of instinct. Fair enough, that's how we could survive. Then we enter the human kingdom, then we got intelligence. So we operate at the level of intellect. This is where Richard Dawkins and Stephen Hawking are, or Roger Penrose are, operating with the level, oh, we are intelligent animals, but still we're animals, extension. But then there's a third dimension that they don't want to acknowledge, it's intuition. It's nice to start with instinct, intellect, and move on to intuition. Some of the major scientific discoveries took place through intuition. Intuition, not intellect sitting in there drinking coffee. You just, wow, get a eureka moment. It pops out from within. See, I told you, the ancient sages discovered that through intuition, they discovered the deeper dimension of reality. So the story is still going on. It's an ongoing story, but I keep shoving myself into their lobby. And the boys at Eton said, Mr. Lakhani, have a debate with Richard Dawkins. And they said, Mr. Lakhani, if you have a debate, what will happen? He said, you will win. I said, how can you be sure? They said, because he's just a biologist, you are a physicist. And physics can trump biology. I said, good, I go for it.
Agreed. Yeah, definitely. So that's actually really interesting. I completely agree. Like, I definitely think we're so spiritual and like the material. I completely agree with this. You also speak about sometimes in your talks how life.
Janvi, I want to stop you. Can I send you papers to adopt you as my daughter? and my present daughter doesn't like physics, doesn't like math, and suddenly I find it.
Love it. I'll definitely try and get her to love it as well, because like it's amazing. I completely agree. Yeah, sometimes you want to define kind of living things, and you say that it's kind of in defiance with physical nature. And I found that really interesting. Could you maybe like explain more about that? And do you think ever that like we're being really harmful to nature at all, or like is that important? Right, just take it away.
It's important that we don't harm nature or harm other living things. That is again a central feature of our tradition. In the Abrahamic tradition, they say man was put on earth to rule over animals, basically butcher them and eat them. Our traditions, no, we are a continuation of the animal kingdom. So sacredness throughout the living kingdom is our speciality. So we have no defeat. That's why the gentle cow became caught in the center stage, saying this is a special animal, give special respect. This made humanity settle down and become civilized. So we recognize the role of all the living kingdom. We have no difficulty with that whatsoever. So we agree with this idea of giving sacred status to all the life forms. But we are somehow cursed to live on other life forms. We are cursed, all of us. The best thing we can do is live on the least evolved life form than the most evolved life form. This is how you get the idea of vegetarianism, idea of veganism, etc. This is how it comes along. So basically what we are suggesting is that the living kingdom cannot be ignored. And one of the features about living kingdom, because everybody goes to biology classes and done GCS and A-level, all that. And that's how do you define a living thing. All the definitions they give fall short of the target. I'll just give examples. Suppose they define living things that which gives birth to other living things, reproduces, birth gives birth. And of course, you show the mule and so the mule is waving his tail, it's not supposed to reproduce. That means, is he dead? No, he's still alive. Okay, then you say, living things are those things that consume and excrete. Then you look at your four-wheel drive car. It consumes a lot of petrol, excretes a lot of carbon dioxide. Is it living? They say, no. Then you are a physicist. They say, refrigerator, from high entropy to low entropy, brings from disorder to order. Your refrigerator does that as well. It kind of reduces the wiggly water into ice cubes. So is that alive? You say, no. So every definition you have somehow falls short of the target. And yet, you combine everything, that's what living things are. In fact, the best definition about living thing comes from our tradition. I'm really proud to say that. Living things, according to us, this is the best definition, are those things that are not in compliance with the forces of nature, but in defiance of it. Because if you're just output of nature, why should we defy nature? We should play along with the forces of nature. All living things are nothing but defiance, standing up against the forces of nature. When we're, ancient man was cowering in caves, shuddering cold, and lightning falling. Oh, God sending messages. In no time, we learned this thing can be harnessed and light up my house and my office. So we are not in compliance with forces of nature. We are in defiance of it. We want to harness it and sit above them. Why? If you're just extension of the material kingdom, we should just play along and roll over. But we say, no, we don't like to roll. We don't like to roll. Even amoeba won't roll over. You say, no, don't do that to me. The thing that is showing a living thing is something special because it stands up against the forces of nature. It is not in, look at the language, it's not in compliance with the force of nature, it is in defiance of it. Straight, this is the biggest kind of challenge that can be given to Richard Dawkins. He said, no, it's to maintain a genetic pool. But why should he maintain a genetic pool? Why? What's the big deal about that? So the fact that you want to stand up against nature is the clearest sign of a living thing. And this is what we promote. There's something special here, doesn't like to be pushed about. And that thing we define as Atman or spirit.
Oh, okay, I see. That really makes sense.
I get carried away, but that's how it
is. No, that's completely fine. Just lastly, actually, before we move on to the next topic, earlier you mentioned that there are kind of like two main kind of schools of thought in Hinduism, like 99% of people are focused more on the personality aspect versus the 1% focus on what you deem as like the more important part. How can we maybe get the others to realize that this is maybe the way to go forward rather than focusing on the personality bit, or are both equally important, but just both need to be focused on?
Janvi, both are important because human beings progress at their own pace. And there is a slow pace, and we mustn't push it because the thing is, we must respect people from where they are. So if somebody's been brought up in a very traditional family, focusing on a super personality, I'm not here to undermine him. I'm simply saying, carry on. But then you will slowly, as you evolve or become more closer to your own deity, your own God of choice, you'll soon discover a deeper dimension. I'll just give a simple example that I use at universities. I'm not here to undermine this kind of focusing on any kind of great deities of Hinduism. I say, carry on, my friend. This is what I tell them. See if it appeals to you. I say, suppose you love, say, Vishnu, and you want to worship Vishnu. Oh, Vishnu, I want to come in front of you. Vishnu says, okay. And suppose you are so fortunate, you get sight of Vishnu, perhaps before you die or perhaps after you die. Suppose you go in front of Vishnu and you'll fold you and say, Vishnu, I arrived. I will come here. I love you, Vishnu. I love you. So Vishnu, yes, I know, my boy. I know. Calm down. No, but I love you, Vishnu. And you sit at his feet and keep praising him. Vishnu, your eyes are like lotus flowers. Vishnu, I know. I've seen the mirror. No, leave me. No, I love you. I'm deliberately lightening up a serious issue. Do you know what is the apex of love, Janvi? Apex of love is where? No, I'm just not putting on the spot. The apex of love is where the person who is in love cannot see himself or herself different from the object of his worship, the object of his devotion. So at the height of your apex of love, suppose you love Vishnu that much, you keep looking at him, you love him. Do you know what is the apex? You can't see yourself different from Vishnu. You say, oh, you become Vishnu. You can't see yourself apart from the object of your worship. This is the height of love. And what happens here? You transcended a kind of a more personality-oriented Hinduism to a principle-oriented Hinduism. You are the ultimate reality. So this is how, at the experiential level, they meet up. But at the same time, millions of Hindus are devoted to all the various kind of gods and goddesses. I'm not here to undermine them. I'm simply saying, take you on your journey to your destination, see what happens to you. You will go from the personality to principle-oriented Hinduism in the most natural, experiential manner rather than intellectual manner. So be it. I'm not here to, suppose somebody requires crutches to make progress, spiritual progress. I'm not here to kick the crutches away. So, no, come on, grow up, principle-oriented. It can't work. They have to move gradually from where they are. You know what I've been taught by my mentor? Swami Vivekananda said, if you can help somebody progress spiritually from where they are, not where you are, do so. Otherwise, fold your hands and step aside. Don't interfere. They are progressing at their own pace from where they are. If you can help them to progress in their own mode from where they are, not where you are, then do so. Otherwise, hold your hands and step aside. See, what a beautiful, what a magnanimous message. That is the method I try and use. But sometimes I have to take on the challenges, especially when the challenges come from science or rationality. This personality-oriented approach fails. And they come rushing to me and say, Mr. Lakhani, but did the creation came out of Vishnu's belly button? I said, no. This comes from esoteric Hinduism, the idea of Big Bang visible there. So move from personality to principle if you're forced to do so, because science and religion, science and rationality will keep challenging you. This is my way. I do it in a very gentle manner.
I see. Okay. That really helps, and that's given me a lot to think about as well. Thank you so much. We're now going to move on to the next section, if that's okay, and Akash will lead that.
Yeah, exactly, Mr. Lakhani. Yeah, that was really helpful. So the next topic will be so the past, present, and future of Hinduism. So the first question is, so how have you seen Hinduism change over your lifetime? So just in terms of maybe like the beliefs of the Hindus that you're interacting with. So do you see maybe like a kind of generational difference in how Hindus are living their lives?
Yes, I've seen a tremendous amount of evolution already taking place, tremendous. The first thing is this: the Hindus who struggle with the idea of personality-oriented Hinduism, they struggle big time, because if they take these ideas to their science lobby or to their place of work, they'll be laughed out. So they struggle. So they kind of hide themselves, saying we are Hindus because they think it's a weird religion with elephant head gods and all that. So they hide themselves or become very much on the back foot. They're always in the defensive. They don't know how to respond. So I see this struggle all the time. So when the Hindus struggle with this personality-oriented Hinduism, they have to look deeper. And some just basically say, we'll ignore it. Just ignore Hinduism as a weakness in our tradition. They think it's a weakness because this personality-oriented Hinduism cannot stand up to the challenges that come from science and rationality. So they run away. But now I'm seeing quite a lot of youngsters today, I'm very pleased to say that, are now prepared to embrace the deeper vision of Hinduism without feeling compromised. Because then they feel like we can respond in a dramatic manner. What modern world requires is something that you already possess. But because you've not looked at it, you have not valued it, you can't really push it across. When I go to Hindu societies, in fact, I used to travel to all the Hindu societies throughout the country, been to Oxford many a times. I discovered that basically the Hindus themselves are struggling and on back foot. So when I give them these ideas that are at the heart of Hinduism, they become lit up. I'm not exaggerating, they get lit up. I give you the ideas that will light any Hindu up. You see, the first idea is this. This idea of focusing on a God in heaven is struggling now throughout the world. Majority of youngsters that I come across, Hindus as well as non-Hindus, quietly say they are atheists because they can't tolerate a God in heaven creating this world. It doesn't sit well. So they're becoming atheists or agnostic. So the majority, in some schools, 90% are atheists, bluntly. So the most revolution is taking place. They are moving away from a monotheist idea of ultimate reality. They're moving away. So they are now moving to the idea of something more to us rather than say God in heaven. The focus is now turning not on God in heaven, but God in humanity. And this is visible naturally. If I ask him, atheist, do you believe in God? He'll say, no. I say, do you believe in yourself? He said, of course I believe in myself. I say, caught you. What you are searching for is not some God in heaven, but for your essential nature. So in this manner, the modern thinking youngsters, Hindus as well, especially the non-Hindus, even more than Hindus, let me tell you, fall in love with this idea of something special about themselves, not a God in heaven. And this idea is called spiritual humanism. It steals hearts and minds like that. In fact, when I did certain assemblies at Eton College, the Eton headmaster he was a good friend. He's moved away now. He said, Tony Little, he said, Mr. Lakhani, you can do assembly here, but our boys are very naughty. They'll gang up together and tear you down, pull you down. Because when you give an answer, two more will put the hands up. No, sir, you're not answered. They'll keep bothering you. They're really naughty. Michael Heseltine came here last week and they made him turn red in the face. Watch it. I told the headmaster, please don't worry about me. But when I do the next assembly, sit in the front row and see what I do to your boys. In the moment I started working with spiritual humanism, without any hesitation, they started applauding before I could finish. Forget about challenging me. They fell in love. You see, they've been told that from birth they are sinners. Suddenly this guy is telling them they are divine, essentially divine. And there's no sin. They're not sinners by birth. First time they've been released from this kind of binding. They are sinners right from their birth. Just because they're born, they're sinners. And suddenly this Mr. Lakhani is giving them tremendous dignity. So they start applauding, they stand in a line to shake my hand. So I see I've caught their attention. You see, this is the idea at the heart of Hinduism. Something great about humanity, something great about all living things, which is essentially spiritual rather than material. So refocusing attention on humanity is the way forward. It's happening naturally. And I'll be very frank, Akash, not to Hindus. Hindus are slow to catch on. It's the non-Hindus who catch on to it very quickly. I'm discovering that. That is why BBC won't let me lose, because I'll steal all the hearts. These are very dynamic ideas, very potent ideas. So rather than the future of Hinduism is, look, you heard that, used to see this advertisement, the future is orange. And I felt very nice. I said, yeah, I knew it. But then there's a telephone company. but ironically, that is true. The future. I'm not trying to score point on the religion or the human. That's not our style. But the material we possess is so potent. We'll see the hearts and minds of billions of people in days to come. I want to live for 10 more years. I'll see it happening in front of my eyes. We have got very potent ideas. Look, do you know how you win somebody's? Not by throwing bombs at him or killing him or murdering him or swords. And the best way to steal, to win hearts and minds is through ideas. They are the most potent thing we possess, and we have them. Except most Hindus don't know. Their hand is kind of like this. They won't open their palms to see what they possess. They possess the most dynamic vision.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I completely agree with your the point about a lot of young people are like scared of kind of confronting Hinduism in a way, but the fact that it does actually it doesn't conflict so much with a lot of modern science helps people to start to accept their faith a bit more, I guess. I found that's true about me as well. So I think on that same topic, I was just wondering, so what do you think, what do you see in the future in terms of how, like, what the next discoveries in physics that you think will have a big influence on Hinduism and maybe just religion in general?
You see, in fact, the greatest credential we can get is, suppose I wear my blue orange jacket and I'm Hindu, it won't help. The only way we can get true, if you like, credibility, true dignity, is if modern science embraces what I'm talking about. So what I'm suggesting, shoving materialistic humanism into spiritual humanism, it may appear like, yes, a little tiddler trying to do his best to destroy this kind of highly materialistic agenda, but I will win because the ideas are right. And they are becoming visible in neuroscience as well as in modern physics. So it is not me, but the ideas I possess are so important. In fact, let me tell you, as a physicist, I've been watching since 1920s, since we discovered quantum physics. Nobody has been able to give a conceptual understanding of what quantum is all about. That's why they say it will make you dizzy. So what the heck is quantum? Nobody understands. Conceptually, they know the mathematical technology. That's why all your gizmos work on that. Even the DNA works on that. And yet, conceptually, what the heck have we discovered? Because I think underpinning to reality is non-material. It's mathematical, not material. Then how will this world is materials? How reconcile? This we have no idea. So this has been a big problem. So modern physics has gone in a cul-de-sac since 1920s. It hasn't come out for 100 years. It still sits in the cul-de-sac. It can't understand the quantum phenomena. It can do the mathematical formulation, but it can't understand what they've discovered. And the answer lies with us. We have discovered the underpinning to reality, which is essentially non-material, manifesting, appearing as a material world. And this is exactly what physics is teaching us. So in fact, getting this kind of rubber stamp from modern physics is the way Hinduism get revived and refreshed. And the Hindus will only listen to Mr. Lakhani when the modern physicists say, we like Mr. Lakhani, he's talking sensible stuff, we understand our quantum. When I did some session at universities in physics society, and I talk about the deeper vision of existence, etc., the students said, Mr. Lakhani, for the first time, we understand quantum. I said, good. So it's when the West, in a way, this is so sad, we are still a slave country, our mentality is still slavish. Unless some outsider gives us rubber stamp, we can't agree with it. We can't appreciate it ourselves. So I'm waiting for the West to rubber stamp what I'm talking about, and I'm pushing them. I'm not going to let them off. I'm pushing them in the way. I would love to push them in the mainstream media like BBC, but BBC are very clever. They won't let me in. So I'm using social media to bypass the BBC and in a way touch the hearts and minds of the thinking Westerners to try and get a rubber stamp from there that this idea in a way allows quantum to progress further. We're stuck in a cul-de-sac at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm just conscious of how much time's left. So we're going to move on to the question and answer section. So I'll let Janvi take over and she'll be asking you some of the questions that our audience members have submitted.
Hi again. Yeah, so we've got many questions. One that seems really interesting is from Thrush Patel. So what is the closest word for Atma in quantum physics?
Okay, the nearest, as I said, we use 3 words to understand the deeper reality. Sometimes defined as Brahma, sometimes defined as Atma. The pronunciation is Atma, not Atman, but made in English we make it Atman and Brahman, but it's Atma, Brahma. They're basically the same, but kind of looking at it in different perspective, saying the universe is underpinning to the universe is Brahma, underpinning to our individuality, us, is Atma. This is how we define it. And you say, but what are the nearest words? And said, I've been using them, you use them, Asti, Pati, Priya. But you say, Ms. Lakhani, are there three different things? Do they have three strands? No, no, no. At the experiential level, at the intellectual level, you need these kind of three categories of the nature of existence, of the nature of consciousness, of the nature of bliss. But when you actually experience it, they tie up, they become one. Look, when I experience my essential as a spirit, Atman, I become aware of consciousness, not what I'm conscious about, but consciousness becomes the central feature. I become aware of that I exist. Existence becomes head on, hits me. And I feel tremendous thrill, bliss. All these three combine together. The bliss of existence, bliss of consciousness, all link up together. This is the deeper vision of what we truly are. And this is our true. And the only way you can validate, I keep saying, Janvi, is first an experience. You heard about encounter of the third kind. This is encounter of the first kind. Meet yourself.
Right, yeah. Thank you so much. Anirudh asks, how do you get rid of the fear of death, or is that even something you should get rid of?
No, you should keep it in mind. In fact, the reason why sometimes the vision of Kali is kind of vilified, shown as some kind of villainous lady. In fact, one of the primary school books in Hinduism in the UK, written by Sue Penny, I want her to sue me, Sue Penny said, Hindus worship this bloodthirsty goddess called Kali. So come on, little children, what are you trying to say, that Hinduism is filled with Draculas or something? What do you mean bloodthirsty goddess? So I had to write to her saying, take it off. So what is this idea of Kali? Just touch, this is the way you can address the issue of death. You see, Kali, the thing that destroys the whole creation, or everything that comes to destruction, is the biggest destroyer is Kala, time. Through time, everything, civilization come and go, creation comes and goes. The whole of this creation goes, gets crunched up as well. So Kala, time is the old killer. So Kali is nothing but derived from the word Kala. Time is the old destroyer. And the reason why Kali is wearing a garland of skull is to say, chaps, you got limited time. You're going to end up here. So take advantage of the present life to so death in a way gives perspective to life. Tells you why life is so important. Because you see, then I'm going to become a skull like that. This is terrible. So let me sort myself out now. So Kali in a way puts us on our toes to say, sort yourself out, my friends, sort yourself out. This is why it's a very endearing idea. So death is something that we can't ignore. Human beings like to ignore death. When somebody passes away, we don't even look at the dead body. We just throw flowers on it and cover it up. We don't watch it, don't see it. But Kali says, you can't do that, my friend. See it head on, take it head on. It gives you perspective on life. That's why we say death should not be ignored. But at the same time, just get the perspective right. And the only way you can overcome fear of death, this is the true story, are two ways. For example, you heard about NDE, near-death experience. Thousands of people throughout the world have gone through this process of near-death experience. They were clinically declared dead in the hospital after an operation, and then after 5 minutes, they get up and say, hello. So what happened to you? So they've actually seen that they are not the body. They've risen above the body, and they still exist. And they come back to the body. So once you had that experience, how can you be frightened of death? You've already seen that you don't get snuffed out. You just get back, or maybe get another body according to us. So this is why the fear of death can only be overcome. Either if you realize your true nature of the spirit, how can that die? Or through this very worldly affair of near-death experience. I'm not suggesting to your viewers that they should go through an NDE experience to get over death. It's a very risky thing. But this is one of the ways you can overcome the fear of death. Best way is to realize your true nature is the spirit. Then nothing can hold you down.
Right, yeah, definitely. I know some people have the argument that it's quite egotistical to think that our spirit lives on and is reincarnated. What would you say to that kind of argument?
It is a good argument because whole of Buddhism is based on that. Because Buddha used the word anatman rather than atman. There's some individual there in order to kind of challenge this idea that your ego carries on and it gets the rebirth. This is terrible, he said, not right. So he said ego is not a reality, it's a flux. It just appears as one individual. There's no individual there at all. That's why I use the word anatman. It was not actually challenging the idea of atman in Hinduism. It was challenging the idea of ego, the thing that's holding your body, mind together. So he was challenging that, saying there's no such reality. It's a flux. We know it's a flux. Our mind is a flux. Our body is a flux. Every second I'm talking to you, lots of cells are lost and new ones are developed. So who am I? Or the mind is fluctuating. We don't know what the heck am I. So the mind and the body are in fluctuation. And Buddha has pointed this out. So in a way, ego is the danger point. So the thing that moves from one life to another life, here's the ego going with it. At the same time, Buddha says, this is the one that stops you from seeing your true nature, or become Buddha, become enlightened. So we appreciate, we agree. You were challenging ego, but somehow people thought because he used the word anatman, he's challenging atman.
I see. Oh, that's so interesting. Thank you. That's definitely given me a lot to think about, actually. So Sami Agarwal wants to ask, what happens when we pray to God? And does praying to God, like asking for a favor, really actually do anything? So like, why do people pray, basically? Yeah.
Okay, so the Hindus, for example, who believe in personality-oriented Hinduism will say, God is our real father and mother. If you're in distress, health-wise, wealth-wise, whatever, if you can't turn to your real father and mother, where else can you turn? So fair enough, you pray, and it's perfectly fine. So what happens? You see, we don't say that God is partisan. Because you pray, he will do something good for you. We say your own tremendous love, faith in God itself will bring about a change. Not a God saying, hello, I heard your prayer, good boy, I make things better for you. It is you yourself who are bringing the change. If the faith is that strong, it brings about a change. Your faith is kind of playing a part. People don't believe that. Actually, it's you who are bringing in the change. It depends on the level of faith. Some of them are really, that dramatically sure that this deity is listening to me. That particular just approach will allow me to bring about a change. You alone will bring about the change. But you say, no, God did it. Fair enough. But this is how the prayers are. But again, the one interesting thing is this. The bhaktas, or the people who are devotees, are classified in two ways. This again in the Bhagavad Gita, very interesting. They say, Krishna said there are 4 kinds of devotees I have got. The first devotees, Krishna says, are those in distress. Of course, I am the real father and mother, they'll come to me. So okay, this is one form of devotee, in distress. Then there are second kind of devotees who are called artharthi, that means Gujaratis. They want money, they want to do business with God. They tell God, if my daughter goes to Cambridge, then I will offer, 100, bags of grain to the temple. And God says, okay, we do business. There's artharthi, the second kind of devotee. The third kind of devotees, according to Krishna, are, in simple English, nosy parkers. They're just curious. What the heck is this God fellow? So they're trying to suss out God. These are the third kind of devotees, sussing out God. What the heck? Nothing wrong with that either. But the fourth kind of devotee Krishna likes are the ones who can't help themselves but love God. They can't help themselves. These are the highest devotees. They're called Parabhakta, higher form of devotees. And there's a wonderful example in the Mahabharata story. When Yudhishthira was struggling, the 5 brothers were in hiding. Draupadi was getting fed up, like all wives get fed up with their husband. She was getting fed up. And Krishna and Yudhishthira used to worship God every day. And Draupadi said, this is terrible. Look at our condition. We are in tatters. Why do you keep worshiping God? And Yudhishthira gave the best example. This is the Parabhakta. He said, oh queen, listen to me. We are living at the bottom of the Himalayan mountain. See the chain of Himalaya. Now, when I look at the Himalayan mountain, does the Himalayan mountain do anything for me? But when I look at the majesty, I fall in love. I can't help myself. In the same way, when I think about God, not because he does something for me, I can't help myself but love God because of the majesty I see in front of me. This is how we define different bhaktas.
Wow, okay, that's really insightful. I hope that answers the question. Atreyi says, it's really a pleasure to hear you speak, Mr. Lakhani. She says, I was wondering what your thoughts are about artificial intelligence. So from the point of view of physics and Hindu philosophy, do you think AI can ever become actually a conscious entity?
Yes, I'll give the answer. Look, on all such issues, I think for myself and then give an answer. I don't just make it up because it's written in a book. I think about it for myself. Look, artificial intelligence at the moment is excellent. In fact, one of the ways to define living things, this is the way they said living things are those things, this is the biologists, who can process information. Oh, wow, nice kind of modern language. Process information. Then the question arises, you see the little laptop you have? It can process information 1 billion times faster than you, or better than you. Does it mean you are dead and the computer is alive? See, this is the difference. So even though artificial intelligence can do fantastic things in a mechanical manner, there's something missing. And that missing element is the word we use, spirit. Otherwise, just a material thing, material feature. So artificial intelligence will always be there, very elaborate, can do faster and do better job than any human being. And yet one thing is missing is the word spirit. But then I think about all these things very carefully. At the moment they're developing certain computers where they want to use brain tissues to do certain kind of intricate kind of manipulation. So when you start using brain tissues, you're using the DNA, it's a human thing, it's a living thing. So if you start plugging in living things in artificial intelligence in some computer, and if it comes alive, I say, oh dear, I don't know whether it's dead or alive anymore now. It's becoming, taking on, if you like, this kind of features of a living thing, the brain tissues. So that might happen, but for the time being, it's not happened.
Oh, okay. So even if you think, you think even if you put like kind of the conduit of, as you say, like the conduit of consciousness into something, it may take consciousness, have consciousness.
Only if you put in a brain tissue, I suspect, we might make a major leap. But the moment they're talking about it, and they might do it, to the brain tissue in a way, if you like, use a link to our true nature as not material being, but as something non-material, and the brain tissue is the place where consciousness becomes visible. So it might trigger an artificial intelligence to have, if you like, consciousness itself, but I'm not sure about it. It's still in the door. It's still being developed. And I like it. Well, we must progress with science. We don't feel frightened by science, so we progress with it.
Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah. So Nishant wants to ask, what's your view on how Hinduism is evolving in India currently, and how we address the interplay of religion and politics in modern society?
Okay, good one. In fact, this question I want to address is this. When we started this session, we promoted it as a Zoom session. And straight away, I got literally about, I don't know how many, 30, 40 messages straight away saying, Mr. Lakhani, you must abandon Zoom. It is undermining the dignity of Hindus in India. I said, why? The reason is this is a Chinese thing. It's a Chinese app. And we have to now abandon Chinese app because they have been infringing on us, and they killed about 20 soldiers. So you must stand up and say, no, we don't like our dignity to be compromised, so we will stop using your apps. So I said, hands up. I didn't realize, of course, this is a very recent phenomena. I think last week, about 20 Indians were killed. So we must stand up for ourselves. It's up to now. We've been wimpish. January is terrible. Anybody walks all over us, yeah, please walk all over us. Ahimsa paramo dharma. What ahimsa paramo dharma? If somebody walks over your dignity, your religion says stand up and become aggressive if necessary. So we are kind of living in a wimpish manner. But with modern politics, I'm not trying to promote one party or one individual. We see a change. We are saying, no, we must stand up for our dignity. Not that we want to overwhelm others or control others or rule others. We have never done that. But at least stand up for what we believe in. And this idea of standing up for our own rights. Forget about the rights of the black people that you hear. Standing up for the Hindu rights is also a very important feature that you must embrace. And modern politics is beginning to do that.
Oh, okay, actually, this next question is really relevant as well. So particularly in light of recent events, as we've been talking about, do you think the concept of spiritual humanism has kind of an urgent role in trying to combat some of the objectification or racism in our society? And how do you think that important kind of concept should be harnessed?
It is very true. That's why spiritual humanism cannot be held down. It's not me trying to push it. It just organically enter society. It's already entering. I'll give you an example. When I look at the United Kingdom, its history is very checkered. Until the Second World War, they were looting people from throughout the world, looting all the resources from throughout the world. They were real pirates. Very checkered history, doing tremendous harm to the rest of the world. Destroying India as well, economically. No, you can't excuse them. But after the Second World War, after a lot of bloodletting, this nation has matured dramatically. And what we are promoting in Hinduism as spiritual humanism, dignifying humanity, is not visible in India today. It's visible in this country. When I look at the way they look after the disabled people, people who are struggling, people from ethnic minorities, the way they give respect, I say, oh, this is Hinduism, spiritual humanism. So in a way, what we are talking about, they are practicing. So my job is to marry the theory with the practice. That's what I'm in London. So this is why it is visible now in the Western world, and not because we say just a Hindu thing. We don't do rubber stamping and copyrights. This is happening naturally in a very organic manner. So be it. Humanity now, I mean, London is the best example of this idea of giving dignity to human beings. And very checkered history. People say, Mr. Lakhani, how dare you praise the British? I say, I know they're nasty people, but they'll learn their lesson, and they'll really mature dramatically. They're practicing Hinduism. So some of these meetings, when I say, actually, you are practicing Hindus, people say, don't dare say that, we are not Hindus, we are Christian. I said, it doesn't matter, you can call yourself what you like, but you're practicing Hinduism.
Yeah, fair. That's very fair, actually. That's very interesting. Oh, by the way, that was a question from Rahul, if you're wondering. And then also there's a question from Pradyumna. I really don't want to pronounce it, so I'm really sorry. That was very bad. But if self-realization is just a higher dimension of mind consciousness where we seem to be kind of connected to the universe as one, and is that kind of what we establish as Atma? Because she says, if not, then why is it said that psychedelics expand the mind and give a spiritual experience?
Good. You see, for university students, this is a question worth exploring. Because many students, Hindus as well as non-Hindus, feel that this world they live in is becoming boring. They want to have an alternate state of mind. They want to enter the altered state of mind is the right word. They somehow want, because they get bored with this world, it's very mundane. So they want to go into altered state of mind. They take those pills. Janvi, don't do it, otherwise you're no longer my daughter. And they take these pills and they get into the psychedelic state. And they get kind of, very high. They get highly charged up. And they get addicted to it. What's wrong with that, Mr. Lakhani? Come on, you're talking spirituality. Maybe no, it's dangerous, very dangerous. Don't you go down that path at all. Our tradition recognizes that there are certain chemicals you can ingest, which can bring about certain changes in your physical brain, which can give you a free sample of a spiritual experience, like a free kind of glimpse. That is dangerous. Free samples come with a health warning, because then you don't know where you are. You can't absorb that experience, and you become schizophrenic. Your routine life is destroyed, and you become addicted. So a lot of lives are destroyed because of those pills. That's the wrong way. It is through discipline, self-discipline, you discover your true nature as a spirit, not through this kind of using chemicals. That's the worst thing you can do. So this is my advice: is run away from that. Don't dare even try and experiment with it. Thankfully, I've never done that, by the way. But the thing is, it's best to focus. You might think I'm going, yoo-hoo! I just do Japanese, I'm going, yoo-hoo! No. But it's important to give warning, health warning to all the youngsters, saying, look, it is highly addictive and damaging and destroying. It destroys you as an individual, as a personality. Avoid it. It gives you not a heightened state of awareness, altered state of awareness, which is a weird one. So you really lose track of your true nature. Don't do that.
Nice. Yeah. Okay, I see. Hemant Kota wanted to ask if there are any books you'd recommend, because obviously in lockdown we have much time to ourselves. If there's any books that you'd recommend that we could read more on all of this.
Yes, I would suggest some. You see, we need best place to learn about spirituality to go to somebody who's spiritually kind of enlightened. They're very difficult chaps to find. So this is the first place of call if you're serious about spirituality. You're serious, not just artificial. You want doom dalaka, this kind of drum beating and big institution and all. If that catches your attention, you're not ready for spirituality. So all this movement with a huge kind of following and people wearing the same clothes, frightened, run away. These are clans. They're clans. They brainwash you. Run away. If you're serious, find a person who is spiritually enlightened. Number one, maybe recent or ancient, doesn't matter. The second place of call is the scripture or the material they left behind, because they're talking of spirit from experience, and whatever that's come out of the lips is dynamic, very dynamic. So those focus on that material that has been left by spiritually enlightened personalities, ancient and modern. Now that's one thing. But the thing is this: suppose you tell me, Mr. Lakhani, I don't have time to search out. Give me some handle. My handle is this. This is what charged me up. When I look at the life and teachings of Swami Vivekananda, it destroyed me, literally turned me into a slave. Because the dramatic material that sits there, it's not his lectures. Lectures are fantastic, but his life. So if you want to start your spiritual journey, I'm telling you that my technique would be focus on the life of Swami Vivekananda, how he grew up, how he turned into a monk, how he went to the West and literally lit up the whole West. This one individual stopped all the conversion in India, one man. Just look at his life. It'll immediately catch hold of anything good that has come from my lips. Know for sure is plagiarism from this great master.
Okay, nice. Thank you so much. That's really helpful. So Amit wanted to ask, in your opinion, which Hindu ideology or philosophy or institution is doing the most or the best to promote Hinduism globally?
Okay, my answer is you, my boy, you. Because you think, some other institutions should be doing. Why? You are the main, if you like, ambassador of your tradition. Why do you want to focus on somebody else? You are the biggest ambassador, the biggest kind of role model for the world to take on. So the best way to promote this idea is practice it yourself. and you become the best promoter, this is the way I would focus on it. So suppose rather than say focus on one particular sectarian movement or other, or try and score, that's not my style. I say focus on yourself, you become the best promoter of your tradition.
I see. Yeah, that's a great answer, actually. That really works well.
It's difficult, but
Well said. Yeah. So Tanuj wanted to ask, okay, I haven't really been able to make sense of this, but if we are awareness, the ultimate awareness, or the observer, then how come this observer is only conscious of Tanuj, who's the ego, sorry, just using his name, Tanuj's mind, Tanuj's body, Tanuj's intellect? Why biologically this awareness is now conscious of every body, mind and intellect, but only Tanuj's? But sorry, but
no, it's
only,
okay. I know what he's trying to ask. I've got a rough idea what he's looking for.
Thank you.
The thing is this: you may feel that okay, I've learned that I'm consciousness, but still I'm aware of my body, and this is kind of like a disjoint. At the level of experience, this is the wonderful thing in Janvi. Now, when we look at the world around us, we look in the mirror and look at, that's me. Oh, comb my hair. So you kind of get caught up with your physicality. And then you might be caught up with your own mentality. My mind is very intelligent. I can think of physics and all that. So you become caught up with what your mind tells you are, like Descartes. But then you go deeper. At the experiential level, the magic is this. The world that you encounter is subject-object. You are observing, and you say consciousness, and the objective world is in front of you. And of course, you need glasses to see this objective world, otherwise you can't see it clearly. There's a subject-object divide, and you need intermediary, the senses to see. Fair enough. At the experiential level, you know what magic happens, Janvi? This subject-object divide disappears. Zoom. So you don't see yourself. You see, at the moment, all of us are in subject-object divide, and it keeps all these, difficult questions arise. So when actually you experience your true nature, the reason why it's so intense, so dramatic, so life-changing is because the subject-object divide has been demolished. So it's not that, oh, I've seen myself. You are that, and that's it. That joined up experience is the way to respond to this question. You are no longer aware of your body as separate, or being conscious of your body. You are conscious of itself. What you are conscious about is spat out.
Oh, okay, yeah. I really agree with the senses thing, actually. That really makes sense.
Jan, you're agreeing so much. I'm a bit worried now. I think I'm going to send in the paperwork for your parents to say I'm going to adopt her, and
I'm sure they'll be happy to get rid of me, actually, so that's fair enough. So there's one more question as well from Nivesh. He says, world will be created and destroyed, so that's kind of the cycle. So can we surely tell ours is the first cycle? So could there have been kind of any cycles before us?
Good. You see, the person who can promote the idea of Big Bang Theory and this idea is my own professor, Roger Penrose, Sir Roger Penrose. And he's a very open person. He's always ready to evolve, think differently. So the Hindus have been saying that the world has been created many times and destroyed many times. And each this creation, destruction are called kalpa. The universe unfolds, space, time, and causation. Then they fall back. You've got a big crunch. It doesn't stop there. And there's no time in the between. And then again, it might open up again, space, time, and causation. And again, crunch up. So the many creations have come and gone. Do I have any count? No. I'm just happy to be here. But my professor said something very interesting, which I liked. He said, maybe there's no big bang and big crunch. Maybe there's big bounce. So the world goes, yee, yoo, yoo. You see the openness of this great professor. He's open to this kind of wonderful idea that maybe just big bounces rather than big creation and destruction.
Oh, okay. That really makes sense. Thank you. I think that was the last question, actually, or we've got time for. Thank you so much from me. That was like really eye-opening. And I think
the adoption papers are on the way.
I'll look forward to them. No, and then I think you've given me a lot to think about as well. So that was really insightful, and I hope we answered as many questions as we could as well. So actually, I'll hand back to Akash if that's okay.
Yeah. Hi, Mr. Lakhani. Yeah, thank you for taking your time to speak to all of us today. All the questions and answers have been recorded, and they'll be on YouTube, so you can go back and watch them later at your leisure. I just wanted to give a massive thanks to you from everyone at Oxford and Cambridge's Hindu societies. We hope you all have a great summer.
Akash, can I butt in? can I thank your mother for generating such a lovely son? I know your mother well.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll let her know. Thank you. But yeah. Also, if anyone's interested in more of Mr. Lakhani's work, he's got his own YouTube channel. So just search Hindu Academy on YouTube, and there'll be lots of more videos on some of the topics that we've discussed today as well. So yeah, thank you very much everyone for coming, and hopefully see you at more of our events in the future.